In my opinion, right now, I don't think we're ever gonna. I mean, it will probably most likely will happen again eventually, but during our lifetimes, like this is probably the only time we're gonna get to really just slow the fuck down and just.
It is, especially in the states.
And so yeah, dude, it was funny how I've changed my mindset because at the very beginning, I was thinking. I mean, how we both are. I'm trying to get ahead. How can I get ahead? Everyone's sleeping now. But then it was like this past 6 8 weeks, I've really just been like, holy shit, dude, this is way bigger than trying to get ahead of someone. This is more of looking at what's important and actually understanding that. And now when things get normal, that you have just a way better mindset, dude, of how to work, how to operate, how to maximize output, whatever in any field.
Yeah, yeah, because sometimes less is more, and
Exact. And I think that's the biggest lesson we should learn. Less is more.
yeah,
100%. I agree.
kind of like stop and be like, whoa, like I could only work 3 days out of in the office and the rest of the week at home, or I could, you know, not do double days, triple days, and still improve. I could work on just flexibility one day and have better mobility the next. You know, like
Exactly.
you always think like, no, you have to be fucking running. You have to be technique every day, fucking 1,000 touches every day, or else you're not gonna be good. And it's like, no, that's not
No.
the case.
The big. So I actually read this sick ass article. I think you should read. I retweeted it. And it discussed the title, the headlines like the extinction of U.S. soccer, and players or something like that. And it was very well written. The fact that he was very knowledgeable. I think he played MLS for a bit, went through it all, and just noticed that there is a problem, and that he showed even graphs. He'd done a lot of research where he discussed in our generation over the past 5 years, there has been a rapid decrease in players who have continued after the age of 17 to want to play at more advanced levels, whether that's college, semi-pro, pro, whatever. And he's saying that kids are losing interest quickly.
Okay.
And it's this idea that he feels as if things are way too structured for, like you said, more of aesthetic, or
Yeah.
this is how it should look. Like there's this mold. Here's the cookie cutter. You need to fit this cookie cutter. This is what our coach is, and this is the players we want. And by doing that over time, he was saying kids are just dropping out. They don't. They've been so burnt out of, and unfortunately, it comes from, yes, the kids and the coaches, but the parents as well. And he says there's an issue. And he really dwelled into the fact that, I mean, you hear Sir Alex Ferguson, all these European coaches say they will spend money on a street player. Why? Because creativity is something you just can't teach. You have to let it organically happen. And so I wrote one of these things that I think futsal needs to be talked about more. Every coach, every club should let their kids play futsal every 2 to 3 times a week. So it's and promote flexibility and unstructured play. There's not enough unstructured play when it comes to coaching, how kids are. I mean, you see it. American players are so like this. Boom, it's one thing I can do. That's it. Boom, boom. Same types of boring ass players. Same shit. And so going off of your lifting and stuff, I think what needs to be done, coaching and strength, anything should mimic what a game would look like. We are not training kids to actually do game-like things. I don't need this type of lift because I'm building some strength, but I'd rather give me a ball, put and push him, like push me against him, put a ball there, I defend, boom. Even adding a partner, that if I can keep putting myself in situations where I will feel like I'm training something that is game-like, I think that's where we need to switch.
Yeah.
Or whatever that you're doing. Think what body part could I help them increase so that when they get to the game, they feel that they're stronger in that region. And maybe try thinking instead of purely isolated, mix body parts together. Oblique and shoulder. Okay, if their obliques are strong and their shoulder is strong, That means they have a good base. How is their hip strength? Can they how are their, their glutes? Okay, shit, maybe they're weak in keeping their base. So maybe we should do a bit more deadlifts with them so that they can feel more tension and know how to use that tension. See what I'm saying? So stuff like that I've been really trying to understand, and you're hearing it a lot, is that these kids are sick of seeing these 40 cones, dribble here, do a step over here. For what? Yeah, sure. And that's where it's a bit unfortunate, is that right now I would be having kids just fucking play against each other. There's no games, just play. But I know obviously with the virus you can't, but like that's where my coaching philosophy comes, where if I have a team, I want them all to feel creative. I want them all to feel so relaxed on the ball because they're just used to, being open and creative, and having that when we do structured exercises, that you can see why we're doing it, because in the game this is what it's going to look like, whether it's in that part of the field, as a unit, XYZ. You really love what you're doing. And that's fun. I'm hearing a couple of like Jocko. He's come on a couple of podcasts, and a question he got asked was like, "Do you recommend, high level athletes to try SEAL training?" And he goes, "Look, the only way you're gonna do SEAL training is if you actually enjoy it, and you want to do it, because there's a mental thing where you'll step out because you're like, I don't need this. I don't need this."
My life, like, it's cool.
Yeah. So, hearing that shit, I was like, yeah, fuck that. That's where
I feel like that's a skill. Like, if you have a skill, you can never let it degress. It'll degress with time, but you always want to be like Sidon, like that motherfucker jump in a session and be like, cool.
Exactly. And that's one of my biggest goals, is I want to always fuck up my players, knowing that I can step on that field, still keep up, and fuck you up.
Yeah, and that's what I need to get, because right now I'm not there. So like I might look the part-ish, but it's time to shred it down.
But exactly. So phase it. So now you're more just
footy.
Athletic strength training is just keep adding the word athlete.
I feel like that's one of my problems, that because I don't feel like I'm an expert in that field, I tend to be swayed by people that have like the alphabet soup, like, oh, like I have my kines and I have all these fucking things.
Yeah, I know, but think about it. It's the same thing when it comes to the business world. It doesn't matter the fucking degrees you have, but have you surrounded yourself with players, people, trainers that you understand. You do.
Yeah.
You have already a shit ton. Yeah, don't have a fixed mindset and be like, you're an idiot. But again, bro, that's where this whole idea of this, your pedigree depends on the degree you have and where you studied. I hate how in our society you need it. But in reality, it's
there's like a couple fields that I think to an extent do matter. Law.
Oh yeah.
And medicine.
Oh yeah, exactly. Because science. You can't. Yeah, you got another.
The everyday's game day. 80% of everything, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's us, it's anything. 80% just needs the basics.
Like, dude, the basics rule. The basics will always rule. Always.
If you focus on the basics, you'll become that much better. Find anything that you do. The 80-20 rule is like literally the golden rule of life.
It is.
And then once you become like that 20%, like then that's when you have to change shit up. When you're you're on that last 20%.
Right.
But I feel like very, very few people are at 20%. Even the greatest, even the good, like Ronaldo's at 20%.
Yeah.
Messi's at 20%.
I could only imagine what they have to think about to get to that next level, because they're
because they're like there, but they continue to improve and maximize, so they need all that extra shit.
Right.
But I feel like we've sold that idea of like, you need a CrossFit, or you need these protein supplements, you need all these supplements.
I know.
And I'm like, you know what? And I've been like the 80%, like, is just making those changes. Like, you don't eat enough vegetables. You don't need fucking protein. You just need more vegetables.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, you want to be vegan, vegetarian? All right, cool. Fucking eat soybeans. Eat more protein. Like, it's the 80-20 rule, bro. And it's what it comes down to. 80 fucking 20.
I agree.
And we're all at the 80. And then on top of that, like, the 80-20 rule even goes, if you could do 80% 100% of the time, you're golden.
I think one of the most underrated skills in the world today is consistency.
Consistency. And
people need to learn how to emotionally attach habits so that they are more inclined to do it every day. And I've been reading and hearing more and more of that habits become habits because there's an emotional stimuli to that habit. And whether that's over stimulus or under, we just listened to a TikTok of this nutritionist that said, look, if you want to start getting healthier and you feel like you have an issue with processed foods and sweets, have a little of it every day instead of eating a whole box, and then before you know it, you realize that the reason you binged it because you had this emotional attachment that I needed to release, like, oh my God. Where if you have one every day, you start to detach that, oh, it's really not even that special. Shit, it doesn't even really taste that great when I'm at the 10th cookie. I can have one and still have it. Like, I don't need it tenfold. And so he was saying this idea of, and then you hear it too, a nutritionist I listened to this morning, if you can emotionally trigger or attach it to a habit you want, some habits are easier because the emotional stimulus is that extravagant for you, or it's just that easy. But the hard habits, like she brought up, smoking is so hard because there's such an emotional attachment to it, that if you can learn how to slowly get away from that and realize the emotion that comes with it, there you go. But consistency, I think, in doing it every day, or doing even, it comes down to the crappy 2 pages. I mean, that in every facet, just at least you gotta do something.
You gotta do something to get to where you want.
Yeah.
Because even fucking recovery.
And I think too, there's this overarching stigma about recovery too, where people think recovery as, okay, I'm taking the right supplement, protein shake, whey protein synthesis, I'm taking an ice bath for 8. Dude, no, there's so much more. It's mentally, are you shutting down for a bit? Are you actually doing something where your mind isn't so attached to competing? Like, there's so much more to it. Not saying to meditate, but meditation is great because you practice all the other shit of awareness, which I think is a massive recovery tool. Recovery too, listening to your body more. Fuck, take that extra day. And I think that's where I'm hoping out of this pandemic, like you brought earlier, is that getting away from this go, you have to crush yourself, like all this shit. If you need 2-3 days to recover because your body's shot, take 2-3 days. Oh shit, you're tired? Yeah, take a fucking nap. You'll be better for it.
People see napping as like, oh, you're lazy.
Oh yeah. People say, yeah, oh, you stayed up till 12, but I still woke up at 4 a.m. I'm a fucking king. Yeah, okay, good luck sustaining that.
Yeah, fucking living off of energy drinks and coffee and shit.
And it's like with your field, strength, it's the idea of when you train someone, you want them to keep coming back. You don't want to push them so hard that instead of doing 20 pull-ups to the point where their lats are like this, that you just do 5 and you're like, okay, but tomorrow you do 5, then the next day you do 5. And then it's that idea of number. I mean, you can't deny numbers. Over time, because that person did 20, he now can't lift for 2-3 days, where you've now already caught up to him on day 4. Where then
it's like this fucking
compound.
finances.
Yeah, exactly, the compound effect.
The compound interest on everything.
Everything.
If you read a book, if you read 1 page, 2 pages every day of a book, eventually you'll fucking finish it. compare to the person that picks it up and reads 100 pages and then they're gassed.
They're like, fuck this.
But then they're like, but I read 100 pages. And next thing you know, a month happens and they don't finish the book, but you finish the book.
Right.
It's just that's the mentality I feel that we need to, like, that's a huge psychological, like, thing that you can create for yourself of, like, the 2 bad pages.
Yeah. Just
I
fucking
feel like
exactly.
People are afraid to be like, it wasn't perfect, so it didn't work.
Yeah, perfectionism needs to fucking go away. That shit needs to stop. I've been victim of it. Not worth.
Me too, bro. Me too. And until this day, like, sometimes I'm like, fuck. And like I said, a lot of times it's like, oh, well, I'm not going to give my opinion, or maybe that person's opinion is better because they're in the field, they're an expert. And I'm just over here a fucking Padawan that's learning.
Just keep learning,
You know what
dog.
I'm saying? But then, like, I think that's the greatest thing you can do, is always feel not inadequate, but like that you can learn more. But I'll be sure of what you know.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? I think that's something I need to work on.
Yeah, fuck, dude. There was this quote. Hold on.